Welcome to the Lifestyle Chase. This podcast features high performers who have found a way to live their best life while balancing their health, wellness, friends, and family. Proudly hosted by me, Chris Liddle. Without further ado, let's get started.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Lacintha, Naidoo, and today I'm interviewing Chris Liddle. Chris, welcome to the Lifestyle Chase.
Thank you, and it's episode 35 today.
That's awesome. How does it feel to be on that side of the microphone?
It's always a little different, and I know on the drive here, I was like, what am I going to ask? And then I was like, wait a second, I'm not asking anything. So it's going to be a mystery. It's all up in the air.
Well, here we go. We'll start off with something that I am sure all your guests must have wondered is how did you get into the podcast life, into the lifestyle chase and into podcasting? What was the thing that kick-started your mind into this is what I need to do?
A number of factors. A lot of it is people who know me just kind of from sight or from meeting me in person once or twice, they think I'm pretty quiet and that I don't talk. And I've always been like, if only you knew, if only you knew just how much I do like to talk. And it's just, I have quite a bit of a barrier. I'm kind of like an onion. There's a lot of layers to get through until I really am comfortable just chatting with people. The way I see it is I like to sort of figure out more about people around me before I start getting super bubbly. But once I know stuff about people around me, then I am very social. And so part of it is kind of living out that requirement to socialize. And then another part, I have quite a few of the podcasts in Edmonton are people that are close friends of mine. So the City of Champions, that's Shane Fennessy, he's a good friend of mine. We actually sort of became friends because I listened to one of his episodes, and I kind of thought, well, that was really good. I enjoyed that, and then I told him, and then from that point forward, we've just kind of chatted back and forth, seen each other at events. It's been good. I picked him up from the airport one time, and we had a good visit. Another podcast that I'm a big fan of is the Fitness Devil, and so that one is Dean Guido and Andrew Coates, and so Dean has been a huge friend, mentor, support system in my fitness career. He's kind of believed in me from the start, kind of pumped my tires when I needed it, been a huge pillar. And then Andrew Coates, he was a pivotal point in me moving my business to Evolve, and also has always supported me whenever he could. And when it came down to why would I start a podcast, well, these guys had their niche. They had their stuff figured out. I also listen to Chris Falconer's podcast, Open Up and Home, and I find he has a very similar style to mine. I like it. But I could see a little bit of a hole in there's ways that I have conversations with people or people that I notice differently that I wanted to talk to. And while sometimes we all talk to the same person, there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of instances where I saw value in kind of the genuine conversation that I could have with a person. Maybe my weirdness was valuable to somebody, and so I just went with it, ran with it, and it's been good.
That's awesome. Now, when you say my weirdness, I caught on to that. What is it that makes Chris Liddle weird?
A lot of it is identifiable in my communication style or my jargon, choice of words, stuff like that. One of my friends was listening to the episode with me and Ryan Jones, and they were like, this sounds so Canadian, because he has sort of a Canadian way of talking, and I have a Canadian way of talking. Sometimes I'll kind of catch myself talking out of the corner of my mouth, and it's just I've got a lot of character to me. I'm professional but quirky, but I find that the best thing you could ever do is just be yourself. So if I feel comfortable talking in a certain way, using certain cues for training, trying to remember, lateral raises, one of my clients and I started calling those flappity flaps, because you're literally, your arms are to your side and you're flappity flapping. it's that kind of stuff, like not correcting silliness,
Yeah.
because it's a effective mode of communication.
Yeah.
Get some exercising.
Yeah.
It's just these little things that I do.
Yeah. So coming back to your podcast, what is it that you look for when you are picking somebody to interview? So I'm guessing this is what everybody thinks when they listen to your podcast. I know when I used to listen to yours, and even when you asked me to come and interview, what is it that you're looking for when you pick someone to interview in terms of what you want to give to your audience?
Mm-hmm. It's tricky because I don't want anybody to ever think like, oh, I have it figured out. It's just like him and all his friends, or it's like people who are popular or this or that. A lot of it is, I find that life is full of obstacles, and there's a lot of ways to find a way to overcome them, and some of that is through people who are just visually, like from the outside in, they are just making it happen. And sometimes you overcome your obstacles through someone who is like maybe younger at the start of their career, but there's little like moments or little actions or gestures or ways of living, careers even, that give me little insights on how to be resilient and how to have the right attitude. And every so often something stands out to me, and I just kind of pick it out, and it's quite the process picking out guests, because I like to think that I make a pretty good decision each time, but it doesn't come without a lot of like thought, because I want to be like, well, what value would this conversation bring? And again, it's just my different perspective. I'm always going to see value in a lot of my conversations. That's why I pump out so many episodes, because I find there's no shortage of value out there. It's just, how can I get that from the conversation?
Yeah, that's good. What does a typical day in the life of Christian Liddle look like?
This one, I saw this one coming, because I was like, she's going to follow kind of the template.
Yeah.
I will use yesterday.
Don't get too comfortable. That might be the only one.
Exactly. Yesterday is going to be my example, because yesterday was a pretty fun, adventurous day. So some people know that, I've bounced around a few spin studios. I rode religiously at one, and then I got the chance to audition and become an instructor at True Ride. So True Ride was a home for me for pretty much a full year, and then as my training career was sort of building up, I just kind of thought maybe it's time to take a break from instructing spin. And then I kind of missed it, so I went to Cycle Bar. So my day yesterday started at Cycle Bar, and that's a place where I like to go usually like 5 times a week, and a big part of it is the community. I can find community just about anywhere, but there is a lot to the people that I've met, and maybe I met them before Cycle Bar, maybe I met them at Cycle Bar, and that is important to me, and that is like one of my non-negotiables. It's like, that needs to be in my life, even if it means working harder in my career to be able to make spin feasible. Next thing, I had a client who I trained at 7:30. So I finished 6 a.m. class, hustled over to Evolve, trained my client until 8:30, and then I worked on my programming for the workout that I hosted at Southgate Mall, partnered with Lululemon. That went from 10:30 to 11:30. Then I visited the store, had a quick chat, quick visit, and got home. I was pretty nervous about leading the class, because like, first time for everything, I think it's safe to say, if people are being honest, you get nervous. So I didn't sleep much. I had a nap. I like getting to have a nap. Woke up, and then I had 4 client sessions, and then I went home and kind of prepared for the next day and went to sleep.
Okay. That sounds like a solid day.
It was a very solid day. Like, I'll be quite honest, sometimes my days aren't busy like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a lot of like, I would call it sort of professional development kind of thing. Like, If I just simply don't have much for clients that day, I always line something up.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the podcast, sometimes it's continuing education. I am looking at a lot of like very valuable videos from a gym out of the States called Hype Gym.
Okay.
That's actually a pretty sweet setup. You can pay, it's in US, so $6.95 US, so Canadian it's like something like $9-10 a month.
Oh wow.
And you get videos from Dr. Pat Davidson. So that's some of my continuing education.
Oh.
I also slowly chipping away at my precision nutrition. And yeah, so if I am not busy with a client, I'm always trying to make myself smarter for the clients that I do have and take care of myself. So I'm at my best when I'm with clients, because if I am operating from a state of burnout, which is something people like to talk about a lot, I'm garbage. Like, I have to be feeling very good about myself if I am going to call myself a personal trainer.
Yeah. So, for those who might be listening to this, who don't know too much about you, because I had a girlfriend that I saw just before I met you, and as soon as I told her what we're doing, she went and she signed up to your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody new hops onto the podcast, what would you tell them that you do? What do you do for work?
Well, it's pretty exciting because, like, as of this past weekend, I am entirely employed by myself as a personal trainer.
That's awesome.
And as much as it's a risk, I was talking to my brother on the phone earlier. I was like, hey, if somebody decides, like, screw this guy, we're not training with him anymore. Like, I gotta figure stuff out. But as long as I'm very diligent in continually enriching my knowledge and treating people around me, client or not, with respect, like, obviously everybody's going to be human and act as humans do. But if my thought process is to provide value into people's lives, then I think that it'll go well. Like, I think I can make it happen in the training industry.
So how do you feel your life before becoming a personal trainer helped you in coming to the stage that you're at right now? So being a personal trainer, everything that you were doing before that, how did it assist you getting to where you are right now? And being as successful as you are right now?
I got a lot of character built into me, a lot of different jobs, a lot of working with different kinds of people in completely different industries. Like, I've worked in very diverse but very identifiable industries. So, like, for example, when I was in high school, I spent a lot of time mentoring, like, younger students. And that was it was an opportunity that was offered to me because the way my class schedule was, like, I had a lot of credits and I just had to finish off a few academic classes and I had 2 spares. And so they saw me as someone who might be interested in, like, leadership. So I would go to the 3 feeder schools that went into my high school and just, like, play, like, team building games with the kids and, like, chat with them about, like, you're going to come into high school and this is where drugs start. This is where alcohol starts. If they haven't started already, like, if your older siblings haven't already done it. And I was someone who kind of stood out like a sore thumb for being pretty straight edge. And, like, I don't know, if you asked me if I would do it the same way again, I think I would. It just felt like the right thing to do, to just kind of stand out, but just do something that you felt was right.
Yeah.
But with that being said, there is a fair bit of peer pressure.
Right.
And so I was kind of there to reinforce people's ability to be themselves. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of crossed my fingers that it worked out for at least 1 out of 18 of them or whatever. Yeah. However many were in that system, I hope that some of them felt a little more empowered to be themselves.
Okay.
And I was camp counselor for 4 summers.
Wow.
So that was a lot of experience in working with different people.
Okay.
Because as a camp counselor, especially it was a United Church camp, and the United Church they were a sponsor to a lot of kids that didn't exactly have, like, best case scenario. So being in the camp environment, that was, like, unique. It was the one chance that they got to be in an environment that was nice, safe, happy. And seeing how those kids are it teaches you to have a lot more compassion, because their norm is not your norm, and their life is not your life, so you have to learn to care about how they see things so that you can relate to them. And going along the train of jobs, my first paid job was Safeway in the deli.
Yeah.
So that was neat, the service industry, getting to work with different people, how they react to when you like mess up on slicing meat. Because like I've messed up on a lot of things in a lot of jobs, and like yeah, you learn lessons from how people react to that. When I moved to Edmonton because I initially wanted to do film school, and I kind of hopped out of that, and I was like, well, I want to do something, and I didn't know exactly what, so I did general studies at Grant MacEwan. And just before that, I had started sort of a footwear manager position at a Sport Check store in Wetaskiwin. And so as I moved to Edmonton, I just transferred to the downtown Sport Check. And it kind of changed from like full-time Grant MacEwan, part-time Sport Check to full-time Sport Check, part-time Grant MacEwan. But between the two, like learning to be a good manager, because I think when I first was sort of like a supervisor, boss, manager, whatever, it went to my head. I was young. I was just like, haha, I have power. And like with absolute power comes absolute responsibility. And I don't think I was very responsible at first. Yeah. But I definitely learned how to be responsible. And at Grant MacEwan, I did such a plethora of different courses. But all have been valuable to today. Public relations, human resources, did a couple of each. Yeah. Did some anthropology, philosophy, general music, did a health one, that came in handy.
Wow, you really knew what you were going to do, right?
I really I looked at the courses they offer and almost picked one of each.
Yeah.
And eventually I was just like, well, none of this is really catching on. And at that point, I think in my growth, I thought the key to happiness is having material things. That's kind of, I think that was the external motivator for me, because then the next job, my wage pretty well doubled. Okay. And that's when I got into sort of stainless steel warehousing, stuff like that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that was my job for 5 years. Yeah. And I think I am a talker. That's why I'm on a podcast. And I feel like if I wasn't talking and around people, I wasn't happy. And that's kind of what happened. I just needed to find something where I was truly like, ask me any time of day and just happy. And when I found there's a lot of factors that went into why would I choose personal training, but it was just like what fitness does for people and what like believing in yourself does for your life, and just different people in my life that have really believed in me, and it just kind of rubbed off in a way that was just like, I want that for other people, and I believe that I am very good at it. And so I decided whatever way I do it, I will. Initially, like when I was doing my best to become a spin instructor or get into a studio, I was, well, if all else fails, I'll just be a trainer. That's when the certifications started. And then I was in the midst of all the certifications, and Farah sent me a message, and she was like, do you want to be an instructor? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to be an instructor. And that's when True Ride began. And that was wild, because amidst all that, I was doing my full-time warehouse job. I had already started up with Yeg Fitness selling advertising. I did that for a couple of years, just like part-time commission, so kind of made your own hours. I was doing 3 courses through Nate. I was doing the CanFit Pro certification, and yeah, it was a lot of things. Like for the deadlines for the Nate course, because essentially I completed and passed, got good marks in 3 courses from the Nate PFT program, but I have 2 other certifications which are serving me, so it's just I have that in addition. And to meet the deadlines with my pace of life, or what I filled it up with, it was essentially like online, you look at it and it'd be like, if you do not submit this by midnight, you will fail. And every night there I was like just hustling fast as I could. I had like classical music and I was just like, I can't get up to go to the bathroom. I have to just stay and focus. And I'd submit it traditionally basically like 2 minutes before the deadline. Not, I've procrastinated on a lot of things, but this was not a case of procrastination. It was just like, I only have this much time. Like, I'd get home from all the work stuff or prior commitments, go to the bathroom once, make sure I had food there, and just finish things as fast as I could. And I was pretty impressed that worked. I don't think that is not a sustainable way to get through courses, but I was just like, I just need to do this.
Yeah.
But life had gotten crazy.
Yeah, it sounds like it got really busy. Right now, the Edmonton fitness community, the industry, is bumping. We've got lots of options for the community, and we have a lot of personal trainers all over the place. What do you think sets you apart from the others? If somebody's looking for trainers and there's 5 and you're one of the 5, what do you think makes you different or appeals more to the masses?
This kind of coincides with, it's actually a status that Dean Somerset put on Facebook not too long ago. And it talks about how so many people are, oh, the training industry is so saturated. Like, there's so many trainers. And then you go and you see all the boutique studios, like all the different things you could possibly do, that there's so many studios. But then you look at the statistics of the city, like city of Edmonton primarily, and we are not, I don't think we even make it to the top 15 most fit cities. Like Calgary's in the top 10. Bonnyville is ahead of anywhere that Edmonton is, and they actually have a very good facility. And I think it's just like that life, they like the outdoor life. So it's just we're not doing it the right way. I think a lot of it comes down to people not being so interested in the idea of making people's lives better, but maybe the idea of what they look like as they're doing the job of making people's lives better. I think this is the job where me giving a big care towards people around me pays off. And I can't really pump my own tires on this because it's like you throw the spaghetti at the fridge and you see what sticks. Yeah. But I am extremely motivated to put my best foot forward, and that plays out to people's advantage. Like if you see my progression over the last probably 3 years, mostly on just like how my life looks and my attitude and the product of my hard work, and then you apply that to a fitness routine for you. Like I'm so motivated in my own life to create like sustainable holistic change, like something that is measurable in your life with kids and with changing your jobs, like progressing. I think that is such a strong value for me that people are inclined to get on board because they can see how that would apply to them. I'm not blowing smoke or anything. I'm just best foot forward, treating people as best as I can, really putting an effort to truly support people, although I might like miss the mark as humans do. Yeah. But just trying. I think effort matters, and I really put in that effort.
So how do your personal values, your personal value system and your ethics show up in your work life?
I would say I find myself to be approachable to many because things like how to treat people are very important to me. Like, I've been known to go off on tangents or get upset over body image in fitness. Like, if you're going to not give a person a shot to better their fitness because of your first impression, or if you're not willing to empathize with a person based on, like, we go into the topics of like race and gender and how people identify with their gender, all these things, like you need to be able to put yourself in the shoes of people. Like, everybody is the same on the inside, and I think me kind of being known for going off on tangents and getting upset when other people don't understand how to see themselves in those other people's shoes makes it easier to work with me, because that's important to me, even though some people are like, will he ever stop yapping about that? Well, it's important, so that's the way it goes.
Yeah. So what was your life like growing up? So when you were in school, what was life like? Because I think when we spoke, you lived in a small town.
Yeah. So my whole childhood, we lived at the same place, and so it's kind of like an acreage, picturesque, like, like the desktop on like Windows XP or whatever, it's the big grassy field. Like you look out the window, big grassy field, cows, chickens, cats. I had a 4-H calf for like 2 years, and I wasn't like, I don't think I was ever born to be sort of like a farmer.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I just really enjoyed that freedom and that space and that openness, and it definitely set me up for culture shock. But as a kid, lots of bike rides, lots of time spent outside building tree fort, lots of time by myself because my siblings were a lot older. So I remember, like, I have 2 older brothers, one's 13 years older, one's 9 years older. When the one that was 9 years older, when he moved out, I remember being so sad because it was like a funeral. It's like, but he's my buddy. But I was really lucky in having the brothers and sister-in-laws that I do. Like, my sister-in-law, who's been married into the family for like a very, very long time, is like, she feels like a real sister. And so having these supports, because I remember as I was growing up, like this one sister-in-law, she has been a teacher for her career, and she was always a good support on, like, we'd carpool to the school sometimes because she was a teacher at the elementary school that I used to go to, but then I was at the high school at that time. Yeah. So like if I had a rough day, like she was always a person that would listen to my rants, which was important. Yeah. And a lot of it was just like, I had some teachers who really stood out to me. Like they made me the person that I am, kind of thing. Like a combination of my parents, my teachers, people in the church community. I was very involved in church. So yeah, I'd say a very kind of peaceful, serene childhood with its obstacles like everybody else, but just kind of calm and very strong value set. And so I owe a lot to my parents, family, and people around me for that.
What were you like in school? Were you the chatterbox rowdy, or were you quiet?
I definitely chatted once I got comfortable, but I was also pretty quiet. In like junior high, I was like winning improv competitions, like just little ones, but like if you want me to act, I can act really good. I can be pretty silly.
Next podcast.
And I was quite an academic, like never like the top, but like pretty smart. And a lot of that is owed to like my parents being teachers. I think they built in as much good habits as they possibly could. Because like it wasn't for lack of their trying. Sometimes it was just like how I'm wired. Sometimes I'm not going to do something unless I really want to. So if it was topics that I really enjoyed, then I just own it. Like in high school, I got 100% in comm class, and as much as people are like, comm class, I'm like, well, who's laughing now? I'm just really living well with my life.
Absolutely.
Career and life management. Thank you. And there were certain modalities of math that I excelled at, but then you get down like the rabbit hole of things that we're honestly not using, or I'm not using today. And clearly I saw that in my younger self, and I was like, well, we're not going to really invest ourselves in this. I like social studies. That comes down to like values and ethics and lessons from the past. Really liked phys ed. And the teachers who probably supported me the most were the teachers who taught me these subjects. So my phys ed teachers, like from high school, they were the real MVPs. Like I spent a lot of time on my own, and it was just, I think I just kind of figured out that if I wasn't on the party scene, if I wasn't, there's certain things that I just didn't do. So it's easier to just stay away from it than worry about being different. And so my phys ed teachers would support me by, they let me go up to the weight room on my own and just mess around in there. Ironically, I spent a lot of time on the stationary bike, so didn't see that one coming. And then my band teacher was really awesome. I had a few, but there was one, and he's actually connected to me on social media, so maybe he'll hear this, but Mr. Simpson always let me go into the band room. And
which school was this?
I went to school at Pigeon Lake. It's just a small rural school.
Beautiful, yeah. What did you play in the band?
Drums. And I still play drums.
Yeah, okay.
But this teacher supported me in letting me go into the band room at noon, which was really awesome because sometimes you just need that. And one of my friends, he's a firefighter out of Calgary now, but him and I, we would just jam out all the time, and we kind of had very similar values and priorities and stuff, so it was just really easy to see eye to eye with him. And that was life. I stayed out of the trouble for the most part, with maybe like 2 exceptions. And well behaved.
Do you want to tell us what those exceptions were?
I did a burnout out of the parking lot in like grade 11 or 12. And it was just like, it was a matter of like, I've had a long day. It's time to go. We turned on Black Eyed Peas. That was the end. As soon as you get a music that gets me going, then it's just like, all right, we're in trouble now. But the thing is, so many students had done the exact same thing before me, and it was the fact that it was me that got me in trouble. It's like, I really stood out for having done it. Yeah. Because in the same year, I also did so much like outreach and stuff like that, but I think that kind of put me on the blacklist for Citizenship Award that year. Other than that, I got the award a few times, so that was fortunate. But yeah, lots of extracurricular, voluntary type stuff, and just kind of staying out of trouble.
Well, it sounds like you are a natural born leader and coach. From everything that you've said so far, from the way you were in school, mentoring people and leading, and being involved in the church group, right up until who you are now, and the award last month you were nominated amongst top 5 best community supporters. Your life has been progressing along a very strong, solid line. So well done for that. What I've noticed also when you're speaking is music has played a big part of your life, like the band and the drums and Black Eyed Peas in the parking lot, and now you go to spin every day, 5 days a week. So when you go to spin, what type of music moves you? What kind of music gets your blood going when you're in a spin class?
I like this one. There's a few, and a lot of it is associated with moments. So a band that I know that a lot of people know that I like, or at least instructors at Cycle Bar, because I've had a few conversations with some of the instructors, and it's Linkin Park, and Chester Bennington really stands out for me. The thing was that he was someone that I really felt I could kind of relate with based on lyrics. Just he's a thinker, or was a thinker, and just kind of gets into the mental side of things. And then when the world lost him due to death by suicide, like it sucked, because it was somebody that I could kind of relate to. And that's why I think mental health is so important to talk about. That's why I had that exclusive mental health episode on my podcast. But it's just that was an artist and a musician, and there's so much that branches out from Linkin Park. There's Fort Minor. There's like because Fort Minor was one of the other singers, and he had his band. But just their style and what they choose to sing about, they talk about a lot of like racial inequalities and stuff like that, and it aligns with my values and what I deem to be important, and presents it in a way that fires me up, or that makes me feel cathartic, I guess. Like what I care about is being expressed. And Eminem is another good one. And like it's always been like kind of on and off, like a band that, or like an artist I should say, that I've enjoyed. It's only certain Eminem songs that I really enjoy, like some of the stuff where it's just like, what is he even saying? Like he gets pretty filthy in some of his music, but then some of it is really well worded, well put out. He is an artist. It just kind of depends what triggered him that day, or what set him off, I should say. And the neat thing was, in our training with Farah at True Ride, she picked out, it was like an Eminem mashup song. And so she was like, this is your song. She was like, I thought of you when I found this song. I was like, this is my song. And I've used a lot of music I've used to kind of like get me back out of feeling of lowness. Whether it's a lot of it is just like feeling insecure in my certain situation, like stress, stuff like that. Like we have these external things that make us upset, but then we forget that we have control over how we react to it, and music helps me get that control back, because things can happen in life, like in all facets, in the roof over our heads, in the people at work, in the people in our personal life, but it's how we retaliate or make our move, how we set ourselves up for that makes all the difference. It's kind of like taking lessons from things. So with that being said, Eminem has been one that stands out. I like I guess I like things with beat drops, so a lot of like remixes and things that kind of, well, there's science behind it. It kind of catches a rhythm and then uplifts you and then stops and then starts again. Like there's definitely the stuff that I like has a flow to it. And if anybody was ever curious to know exactly what kind of music, they can actually, I have playlists on Spotify. So you can look me up there. I just started, I missed making playlists. And I was like, I want to make playlists. So
have you thought of becoming a spin instructor again?
Yes. I think life has its own way of kind of working out, but I have always needed to learn to just let life be on its own pace, kind of thing. Like if I really want something, I think it'll happen.
Because you seem really passionate about spin, not just doing it, but the playlists and the music, and you have all this insight into it. And I've always found the best teachers are the ones who are passionate about what they're doing. It's not about the paycheck. It's not about the whatever glorification comes attached to the job. It is the passion that they have. They fuel by passion. Those have become the best teachers, right? So it feels like you have that for spin.
The way I look at it is, if anything in my life doesn't work out with the timing, it's kind of a sign that, like, imagine what I could be when the timing does work out. So like I'm tacking on all this life experience and these lessons in life. And the more life experience and lessons in life that I have, the more that I can understand other people and connect. So if the opportunity comes up that I was to return as a spin instructor, just imagine how much better I could connect with people and how much better I could resonate with people. And that's what matters to me. So with that being like a big motivator to the whole vision, I'm okay with really trusting the process and just kind of letting it take its place.
Coming back to your training, personal training, and even if you were to become a sprint instructor again, scenario here, if somebody comes to you as a client, personal training client, because that's what you're doing now, and this person comes to you because they're beating themselves up for whatever issue, maybe body image. Body image seems to be the big issue right now, right? And this person has reached their wit's end. They don't know what to do, and they've come to you almost as a last resort. They're not physical. They're not active. They never thought they'd ever be in a gym. They don't even like working out. What would you say or do in that first meeting with that person?
It's in my wheelhouse to kind of work with that kind of a person. I've noticed so many different kinds of people are incredibly hard on themselves. And for myself, I have been really hard on myself. And I have only ever excelled in things that I cared about when I was less hard on myself, when I saw the positive that I had, and sometimes that took other people. And for these kinds of people, I can be that other person. And there's so many ways that I can relate, that I can have like a very valuable conversation. And a lot of it comes down to my ability to have a conversation where they get something from me while I get something from them. Is not so much like stabbing for more info, more info, more info. It's like finding the formula to be on that same starting ground as them. Because for people who are anxious and getting into a gym, like I was anxious to go to the grocery store at one point. Like anxious is very easy to have, and it's something that I have had. And while everybody has a different level, if I am able to be empathetic to what they're feeling, then that's a good starting block to go from, and just being a good listener. I think waiting to hear what they have to say before saying something in reaction. There's so much in what is coined as the sales process of training, where you're just setting it up that you're like their best friend kind of thing. And it's like, I do not believe that that is the way to do it. It is, you listen until you can become invested in this person, because if they're going to invest in you, you're going to invest as much or more in them. Yeah. And so it's just, if I'm chatting with somebody, I do my best to not be in an office. I'd rather be like smack dab some awkward spot in the middle of the gym, because I want them to understand like this is as raw and real and authentic as possible. Yeah. And it's just, you kind of figure out what's their backstory. And nobody, like, while everybody's going to tell you they're going to the gym to lose weight and gain muscle in some capacity, that's not why. Mm-hmm. And I'll usually talk until I can find out what that feeling, that emotion, that vision that they have for themselves. And for some people, it's like, I will not let my wellness deteriorate, or I want to be able to have kids or hold my grandkids or find love, or like these true, raw, honest motivators, because that's what it comes down to. Like sometimes it's just the confidence to make it happen, and that confidence comes with like better wellness, but it's emotions that people want. And so I guess listening, being a good listener.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a quick spot question. Pick one, your favorite. Television, reading a book, listening to the radio.
I'm going to throw a loophole.
Ah, okay.
It's not so much radio, but podcasts and audiobooks. That is my go-to. If I start reading a book, I tend to fall asleep.
All right.
And then I canceled my cable 2 years ago. So if I'm watching TV, it's Netflix, but it's never cable.
Ah, podcasts and audiobooks. I like that. I'm going to read you a quote. And this is a Winston Churchill quote. He says, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." So, when have you found yourself personally in a situation where you encountered difficulty and you had to pull yourself up and move forward?
I think it came around the time of like my career change. I think I was just getting into, like, to preface this, I learned a lot from my old job, and there was a lot of leadership and new lessons learned. But as a human, as a person who just was on the pursuit of happiness, I was getting further and further away from it the longer I stayed. And it was just something that I needed to do personally. But the obstacle was from all the excuses that I built up, like financial excuses, or letting things stress me out more than they needed to. And it became such like a mental mountain that I think like I was scared to take the risks and stuff, and then it kind of took over. Like I was not the positive person that I am today because all these things were really dragging me down. And then it came to a point of just I guess owning my potential for what I could be. So I went from a job that probably paid me over like 60,000 a year and helped me with my condo and new car and all these things, and made everything feel safe and comfortable, and I would travel lots. And I went from that to being like almost completely unemployed for like 2 weeks. And I applied to a number of gyms, and I applied to a bunch of odd jobs. And it was just a matter of like, no, I'll make this work. And I think that's kind of how I crawled back up. It's a matter of waking up every day, and like positive affirmations are money to me. Like not in like the way that it's like a buzzword, but it's just like that is what makes me, is that if I do not see the good in my day as I go into it, it's garbage. Mm-hmm. And I think in my past life there was a ton of days in a row where I did not see the good in the day, and I just went through the motions, and I saw how that would affect me. So I think it's a lot of it comes down to identifying myself and identifying the good and just running with it. I kind of rambled, but I hope I answered that.
No, you did. I'm going to ask you, because I picked up on that. What are your top 3 positive affirmations?
I believe that as outlandish as some of my goals may be, I am the person that will achieve them. And so I like hold strong in that. There's one that I really struggle with, and it's just that me being me and me alone is valuable to people. It gets easier and easier the more people that pay me to personal train them, I'll be honest. But speaking from like a social background, like I always have to work at this one, in seeing that like if I am not at a place, that people see a big empty hole. But I got a few really nice reminders today of that when I went to cycle bars, so that was actually really nice.
Yeah.
Third one, I think it's just kind of the overarching reminder that everything will be okay, which is a big motivator to the podcast, because there's a lot of guests that are coming up that have had moments in their life where it will feel like everything is not going to be okay, or like why did this happen to me? Why did I deserve to have this? And by sharing their powerful stories, it helps me to believe that everything is okay, and I believe that will help other people see it too. Yeah. And so in reminding myself that for myself personally, it helps me overcome any stressor that could come up, because I know life is so unpredictable and short. And that's just something that we have to, if we don't say it to ourselves, nobody else is going to be able to say it in a way that's as powerful.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a small exercise to do now. You did tell me there's no limits to what I can say and do here, right? So shut down your eyes. And then call to mind the sensation of being happy. So happy, you're bursting at the seams. The happiness is bubbling over. It's taking over. Feel the happiness in your body, your mind. And then with it, find the memory that you attach to this happiness. And when you have that memory, open up your eyes and tell me what that was.
So recently I kind of did an overhaul of my condo, just kind of rearranged some things, and I really like having pictures around my home. And there's still a few missing, but I've gotten so much happiness from like the people that I have in my life, and a lot of those I coin as non-negotiables in whatever capacity that I keep them in my life. I do. So that might be like chats on Facebook Messenger, that might be chats on Instagram Messenger, that might be visits with people in person at fitness spaces, studios, phone calls. And in my pictures, it shows a lot of these people. And so I have that as a reminder when I need it. And just the scenery, like we're very fortunate to live in a world that we do, where you can go to Hawaii and see sights like you've never seen before. I have a lot of very good memories from that, and part of it is because it's with friends that are amidst all these pictures, and then part of it is like the risk that I took to go on the trips. It was always like, I can't afford this, and that was the preface to realizing, well, if I can do that, then I can change the job to be happier. If I can go on a trip to be happier, I can change the job to be happier. And yeah, it's just having the people and the experiences. Yeah. And people are worth so much to me. So that's why it's so important to have them. It's not material things. While material things may come, that is as a result of having really good people that make you feel happy. And then you perform better in life, and as a result you may have the things that are nice and shiny, but people.
I agree. Okay, pop quiz. Nicki Minaj or Cardi B?
Oh, gross.
Now you gotta pick one.
That's garbage. Oh.
But you gotta pick one.
Oh, I just say Nicki Minaj. I know of her more, so.
There we go.
What a question.
I'm trying to ruffle you, but
no, that was
like,
good.
You're like so solid, you can't feel, you're just not sweating at all. So I'm like, how do I ruffle this guy? No, it's Eminem. Well, I'm gonna ask him to pick between these two.
Totally, that was a good one.
If you were to invite me to your house for lunch, what can I expect to have?
Oh, I would say it's likely to have chicken in it. That seems to go to protein. However, I'm very flexible for people who do not eat meat. I've made some pasta from like the lentil noodles at Costco. But generally kind of a mix of things. Definitely no recipe. I guarantee no recipe. Like,
So you just cook?
Yeah, I just,
Nice.
this looks good, put it together and hope for the best.
So you're a cook then. That's good.
You could say. I baked some muffins the other day for my trainer friends.
Yeah.
They tasted all right.
Oh, there you go. All right's good enough.
Yeah.
So if you had to go back 10 years ago, what would you tell Chris from 10 years ago, knowing all that you know now?
I would say shoot your shot, because I think I was scared too then. 10 years ago, I was already kind of in sort of a pre-application process for Vancouver Film School. I had gone, or at least seen, a 2-day intensive that eventually I did go to. Like, my oldest brother actually took the time to, I think he might have helped me with flights, and like he escorted me through Vancouver, like made me feel safe and all that stuff. And I got to check out the school as part of like a pre-selected group. And I was too scared to do a big goal because I thought that it was unrealistic. And then here I am doing something that I could find all kinds of people that say training is unrealistic or that's your job. Like, and it's just, if you really, really, really care about it, just do it. And that's what I would tell that Chris to do.
Yeah, that's good advice. What are your top 3 pet peeves? What makes Chris mad?
Oh.
No, just 3 now. Just 3.
Yeah. A few things that set me off, but I'll try and say them as eloquently as I can. There's a lot of people that have things to teach others in life, and most of the people that have the most to teach others don't label themselves as like coaches in that capacity. I found the best lessons that are taught to me are by people who are invested in me succeeding and not people that I have to invest in. So there's an awful lot of that whole, oh, pay us and we'll help you make you better kind of thing.
Yeah.
Second pet peeve. I have seen a lot of instances where if somebody thinks that you can leverage them up, build them up, advance their career, they're going to be extra nice. And then on the other side of things, behind the curtain, they're a completely different person. And that comes up a lot, and I think that's just like a facet of society. So I really get a kick out of having good people where they're going to pump your tires in front of you and behind you, and they're not going to be manipulative. Third one. There's lots of instances where you kind of see that a person doesn't see what's going on around them. And plenty of times where a person might be able to call me out on it. But I think it's important to have sort of an awareness of like with traffic, like speeding on the Henday. How can speeding on the Henday impact other people's lives? Like, say they change lanes and all of a sudden you've damaged their car, you may have ended their life. Like, there's just, life is too short to be reckless to the point that it would cause someone else misfortune kind of thing. And that kind of goes with many things, and it's just our behaviors in public. If somebody is eyes up and kind of looking around them, that's a lot better than being so like horse blinders on and just worried about themselves. So I think at some point we need to exercise perspective in understanding where somebody else is at in their life, whether it's in our car, grocery store, or just in our conversations.
Empathy. Okay, jumping again. If you had to pick any place in the world to visit, a place you've never been to before, where would you go?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think Ireland. And that's just like, that's the kind of the first one that came to mind.
Yeah.
But like I have lots of different background to my like lineage, and that's...
What is your lineage? That's one of my questions. What is your heritage and your lineage? I've got it written here.
So it's broken down to a lot of white people things. But I have some Danish, and it's really neat. There's a story to that, so I'll tell it quickly after I get through all the other ones. I have some Welsh, some Irish, some English, some Scottish. That basically sums it up. And a lot of it, like, I never truly met any of my grandparents. So I have a lot of really wonderful aunts and uncles that really stepped in for me and kind of filled that role. But most of my grandparents were like second generation Canadians, but one of my grandparents, at least one for sure, I might have messed this up, but one for sure came from Denmark. And there was just such a communication barrier. And then once he passed away at like, he was in his 50s. So my mom was quite young. And so we lost touch with them. And then our Danish relatives tracked us down. And so out of all of like the sort of distant relatives, I'm the most connected with my Danish relatives now. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
And then, yeah, I have no contact with any relatives from Scotland or England or Ireland. There's plenty of like second cousins and stuff in Canada.
Yeah.
So I'm not at a loss. But I think it's really neat because first our Danish relatives came and visited us. There's quite a plethora of them. And then as part of like graduating, my parents took me with them and we went to Denmark together.
Nice.
And so I got to meet them all, and I got to stay at a few of their homes. And then they've each sort of segment of like second cousins, or it would be my mom's direct cousins, have come and visited us again. And I have them on Facebook and Instagram, and there's one of them as a personal trainer, which is neat because it's like parallel universe in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite the background, but just it's your typical average like white boy background, just a bunch of European nations.
Yeah.
splatted together.
And Ireland would be your place to go to, hey?
Yeah, I always ask people about how it was when they've gone.
Yeah.
And they've spoken very highly about
Sounds
it.
beautiful, yeah.
So might as well.
Okay, I'm going to ask you now, what would you tell Chris 10 years into the future? Oh, no, not what you tell. Where would you see Chris 10 years into the future? There we go. 10 years from now, where do you see yourself? No holes barred.
People always ask, like, they're like, are you going for something aside from being a trainer? Like, because I do so many other things, but I still see myself being a trainer. I just don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
I see myself being more of a public speaker. Mm-hmm. Side note, with my experience in 4-H, the best part of 4-H for me was the public speaking competitions.
Wow, okay.
I enjoyed them, and it showed. Like, I did well. So why waste something that I'm passionate about? And I definitely think that I will have written and published a book by then. I think I have neat stories in my life. I'm not saying I'm like the wisest person in the planet, but I definitely have like stories. And I think it's worth telling, and 10 years is plenty of time to come up with that. Yeah. And let's see. Probably still live in this area.
Yeah.
Between like wanting to be close to family. I have 2 nieces, so they're pretty important. That was like a big thing about Vancouver Film School. I was like, well, they're going to get older.
Yeah.
While I'm trying to have a career in an industry where you have to be in Vancouver or something. Yeah. Times have changed, but at that time it felt like the only way to ever make a go of it was you had to kind of live in that industry. Yeah. But yeah, like I'd imagine I'll be living in a bigger home. Yeah. But that's not the things that I focus on, just kind of being happy in my career and progressing in a way that feels natural.
That's good. You're wearing a band on your arm, on your left arm. What does it say?
It says, stay humble, work hard, or I guess if I said it the right way around, work hard, stay humble.
What is the symbolism of that?
So this is Revival Apparel, and it's my friend Steve's company. And it's neat how social media works, because you kind of meet people and you call them your friend, but you don't see them in person that often. But I probably wear this like every day. And it's a reminder to me personally, like that mantra is helpful, but his story is not much different than mine. He started, and he has this in his marketing material, he started by selling hats out of the trunk of his car. Yeah. And it's grown into something, and it's because he's passionate about it and he really cares about it. Yeah. And he has a lot of strong support. Like probably all of my training friends all have a piece of his apparel, or all
I love his stuff. I don't have any.
Him.
Hint. Steve. I love his hats. Oh, that's awesome.
It's amazing. It's just so great to see how just like owning things that you're passionate about have paid off. Yeah. And he's been able to build a really good network of creatives, people who are willing to represent or build out his brand in really neat ways. Like there's a bunch of boys that call him like the Creative Avengers, and it's just a lot of videographers and entrepreneurial types that get together and they go to the mountains, and they're able to make a living out of it through influencing and stuff like that. And just these are the people that I like to surround myself with. And if Steve does get a chance to listen to this, he's due for a guest appearance on Lifestyle Chase.
Oh, there you go.
I've been trying to track him down for months, but he's made it to a few other podcasts.
I'm calling him out here. So,
totally calling him out.
There you go, Steve. Second thing on your list, Steve, after getting me my apparel. So, if I were to come to your house right now and put your Netflix on, what would I watch? What would I see you watching?
Let me think.
It better not be something naughty.
No.
Actually, it better be something naughty.
It's actually, I really like the superhero series, and like Netflix has done a take on their own.
Yeah.
And so I usually binge watch those.
Yeah.
There is do you know that one where it's kind of like a talk show? I can't remember the name of it, but there's a new one, and it talks about like real political issues and stuff. Very popular. I'm sure the listeners will catch on which one it is.
I don't watch much TV either. I'm not a TV watcher. I only watch Grey's Anatomy reruns because it's predictable. But no.
I like the superhero ones.
Yeah.
I like things that are meaningful and happy kid movies.
Nice.
Like you'd see so many like like the movie Up, just anything that's close to that, or Big Hero 5 or 6 or whatever it is. Love those.
What do you eat? Do you snack when you're watching TV?
I can't say I don't snack, but I never need to snack. I'm not like, if I watch TV I need to snack, but if I was to, I like Chicago Mix is a good go-to.
Okay.
But I know how many calories that has, so I pick and choose my times for that.
All right. Pop question: coffee or tea?
Coffee.
How many cups of coffee a day do you drink?
Maybe too many. It's neat though, because since kind of like running my own show, I probably drink less coffee because I get to choose what I do, and sometimes it's kind of like I do what I'm asked to do, in a sense that like I can't really choose what I get to do if I don't have any clients that day. Like I do get to choose what I do, but it's just I'm only doing things that are truly, truly meaningful to me, so I don't feel so much of a burnout.
Yeah.
And knowing the things that need to be in my week help me feel fulfilled. So I don't have as much of a need for coffee, but I probably have maybe like 3 cups a day, that seems like reasonable.
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
Yeah.
If you had to think of something, I know we're running out of time, so I'm running through the questions. Something that scares you, but you also feel compelled or pulled to do, like jumping out of a plane or jumping off a bridge. Is there anything that scares you when you think of it? Your palms get sweaty, but then you also want to do it?
It's neat because, well, my friend Dustin often makes fun of me for it. Like, we went on a trip to Costa Rica. He was there for 3 weeks. He volunteered for the first, and like kind of helping as a result of he's an electrician, but he's actually gone for more schooling to be a he went to NAID. It's for engineering technology, and I think it's for civil. But in any case, we went on this trip, and all these trips have been like vision quests for me, and I was extremely out of my comfort zone in Costa Rica. And then after many people saying, you're too scared to do this, you're too scared to jump off that cliff, and they're like 5-foot cliffs in Hawaii and stuff. Yeah. But then we find like the biggest bungee jump in like the southern hemisphere or whatever Costa Rica is. It is huge. And I did it.
You did it?
Yeah. But then that became like my if I could do that jump, I could do many other jumps in life. Yeah. And I did the air quotes for jumps. Yeah. And that's kind of what encouraged me to do things like change careers, but then jump gyms. Like the first gym move that was kind of out of my control, but it kind of worked out because it set me up for a balanced life. And then the second gym move, it was a big part in like the support from trainers that I really relate to and vibe with. Yeah. But again, it was a jump. It's like, all right, all you clients are moving to another gym. So some of them have moved to 3 different gyms within 12 months. Yeah. Yeah. And just kind of trusting the gut and jumping. Yeah. And it was helpful that I went bungee jumping, because then I realized like within the realm of reality, like you can do certain jumps and you'll be okay. Like obviously not all jumps are good jumps, but some jumps are good jumps.
That's true. I'm gonna ask you, this is your question. If you could give one piece of advice to someone on living their fullest, most authentic life, what would that advice be?
This is fun because it'll be the second time I've answered this. And I would have to say, identify the things that bring you the most joy and then put them in your life. Even if that revolves around monetary things, like even if it's your job, if what you do for work does not bring you joy, at the very least do a service to yourself and ask yourself why you're doing that thing. Because there's so many people doing things that do bring them joy and making it happen, and it's not easy by any means, and sometimes we just simply need a job with benefits, but there's so many people doing it that you might as well just give it a shot, kind of thing.
Yeah. So pop question here, coming back to spin, pick one. Sprints or climbs?
Climbs. And it kind of changes. I think I probably started off liking sprints, but I think I like climbs now.
What do you like about them? Asks everybody who doesn't get it.
It's a time when I feel that it's in my wheelhouse and I'm strong and I should just keep going. And then if I can apply that to things that I'm dealing with, then I feel more relentless.
Yeah. If you could think of 3 things to tell the listeners that they might not know about you, 3 things you'd like them to know that they might not know about you, what would those be?
I would have to say something about me is that I've been a homeowner for more than 5 years. So sometimes people say, like, you can't be a homeowner until you're a certain age. But I mean, you can make it happen. It's a lot tougher as an entrepreneur. I might not be able to get a mortgage as easily being self-employed. But you can make it happen. There's always a way to do it. There's lots of people working off tips that have been able to get a home, and it's just a matter of like asking questions from the right people. Second thing, it's tough. It's a tough question.
It is. It is meant to be tough. So things about you that people that are not your family, so just the general public.
Well, here's a fun fact. And this one's just way out of the air. So with my ears, my left ear, fully functional. Right ear, the canal is blocked.
Okay.
So I've been told there's an eardrum on the other side, but I'm skeptical to that. And one of my friends, Ruhi, the audiologist, check her out. We did a hearing test, and I have good hearing based on bone conduction on that side.
Okay.
So I'm very fortunate for that, but it's just sometimes if you're like walking in the mall and you're on the wrong side of me, it's just like I still have to sort of hear from the other side.
Yeah.
But it's served me more benefit than deficit because sleeping, for instance, I'm a pro. I just sleep on the side that hears, and it's like everything is dead to the world. Third fun fact. Despite how anxious I can be to dance in a setting, I'm actually, I wouldn't say I'm like, nobody's ever going to pay me money for my skills as a dancer, but I can sure have a lot of fun doing it. There was a gym class where I taught the whole gym class how to do line dances, like all the country dances. So if I'm at a bar, sometimes I'll drop everything to go do the Cadillac Ranch. And that's the thing that not a lot of people would guess. Yeah. And I remember when we had our junior high Much Music dance competitions, there was 2 times in a row where I was just busting moves so much that they awarded me a CD for a dance competition. Yeah. So whether I was just looking the silliest or what, I danced like nobody's watching.
So the next time I interview you, we can have a video camera.
Totally.
I think that brings us to the end of our podcast. Chris, thank you so much for sitting down and for sharing all these parts of you that I'm sure everybody wants to know. We didn't have enough time to ask a ton more questions that I have, which is why we'll probably be doing this again
soon. Totally.
And this is Lacintha Naidoo signing off for The Lifestyle Chase. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you.